Hello, my name is Monica Rodriguez, and I'll be presenting my future goals as an educational studies major. So, a little bit about me. I'm currently 22 years old and I attend ASU online full time. In terms of what I do currently, I am a substitute teacher and I generally substitute for grades K through 8. After graduation, I am thinking about starting my master's so I can become a certified guidance school counselor. And I do graduate in May, so that is soon. Throughout the course, specifically towards the beginning, I researched and I learned more about my own strengths, and there's more to my strengths in this page, but I gathered the most prominent ones. The first one being self-awareness. Again, a lot of the concepts in this course are very multifaceted and are multidimensional, but essentially my self-awareness will allow me to recognize my own feelings and my own thoughts and notice where they come from and where they might lead. I also believe I am emotionally literate, meaning I'm able to communicate better with others and navigate throughout all types of social situations just because of my experience and my ability to be aware of my own emotions. I'd also like to note that a lot of these strengths play into each other. So it's not necessarily individual strengths, but rather strengths that play off of each other. Communication is also one of my best strengths. I think it's actually my best strength. The book does define it in a specific way, but essentially it's being able to communicate with others. That means listening to them and being able to express your own needs and feelings. And the last strength I believe to be one of my most prominent is pattern recognition. This allows me to instinctively know what to do or what to say in a particular situation. Again, I do have a lot of experience in a lot of social situations, so I will recognize that this trait is something made from experience, but I do believe it is something I have innately. In terms of leadership, the three traits that I do want to carry on into my future career is advocacy, optimism, and passion. For advocacy, what I mean by this is expressing social justice, voice, and sharing power. Advocacy is a very big trait with leaders, just because if it's not something that a leader can have, it can often lead to power struggles and ineffective communication. So I believe as a leader, when you do advocate for your workers or your team or your students or what have you, there is a mutual respect that is shared, and oftentimes your team or students or whoever is your subordinate will listen to you better because they know you have their back. And I also believe optimism is a huge trait. I have personal experience with this. I'm sure the listener listening to this has personal experience, but optimism ultimately ends to seeing inroads and finding solutions to problems and challenges. An optimist will often see the pros of a situation or the solutions rather than focusing on the bad or catastrophizing. And catastrophizing is a psychological term, which is when a person focuses solely on the bad and will make up things that necessarily aren't true, and they often have a hard time finding solutions. And the last trait that I do want to have as a leader is passion. I did somewhat have a hard time finding like my top 3 leadership traits, but passion is another big one like the other two, just because I believe it can raise a team's potential and can enhance the power of their attitude. Passion also is important because without it, I don't think a leader would be able to motivate their team. If they could motivate their team without passion, I think it'd be hard. And it's just a trait that's great to have, especially if you're in an educational setting. Well, again, I do have personal experience with this. It's hard to teach, in my case, a class of students about something if I myself don't seem too enthused. My top 3 motivators for becoming a school guidance counselor is related to helping others, essentially. The first one, though, is building a better future for future generations. The second is for helping students of minority backgrounds, and that could be various backgrounds such as low socioeconomic status, immigrant status, race status, and more. And the last is inspiration. I want to serve as an inspiration to students. And I notice that all the motivators that I have are intrinsically motivated, meaning that it's something that comes from within rather than an extrinsic motivator, which is something such as monetary gain or physical rewards. One of the role models that I did select was a person that I did my case study on, which is Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a world-renowned Buddhist, but I believe he's a great leader, and I chose him as one of my role models, again, because of his empathy and his ability to even listen and respect those of completely opposing ideas. My second role model is Melanie Klein. I won't go too in depth about her contributions, but she was a person who greatly benefited the world of psychology, psychoanalysts, and childhood experiences. During her time, at the beginning of her career, the analysis of children wasn't taken so seriously. A lot of people strongly believed in Freud and how experiences could only be recorded or processed in adulthood. But Melanie, she broke this belief. However, I think she possessed a great trait of resilience, just because in her time she struggled a lot with media, because she was a woman. She was also a divorced woman, and she was a woman without a formal education. She did go to school, however she never received a degree, but she was able to combat personalization with resilience. And my third role model is Mark Noble Sr. This is my boyfriend's dad. He was also he was a guidance counselor for about 20 plus years. And one of his great traits that I want to replicate in my career is being able to feel the needs and fears of every person on a particular team. And in this case, it would be students. In the future, I want to be able to implement empathy and advocacy by genuinely caring about the feelings and concerns of my students and having close interpersonal relationships with them. I also want to have a voice for those, particularly students who may be quiet, but also students who are typically looked down upon, quote unquote troubled students. And I also want to focus on fighting prejudices, especially since I want to work in Title I schools. Title I schools are often schools with children who rely on governmental assistance and who come from low SES backgrounds. And I highlighted the importance of education because I believe for me to have empathy and advocacy, I need to constantly educate myself on various topics. And my 2 noble goals are to inspire others to be the best versions of themselves and to help others be more kind to themselves and to others. That second noble goal, I kind of replicated that based on the beliefs of Thich Nhat Hanh, the Buddhist. again, he's a, a big influence in my work and my studies, so I thought I would dedicate my noble goal based on his beliefs. And these two goals are based on my values and and are results of my purpose. I believe it was the last chapter of the book. It was, all about noble goals, and there is criteria to meet with them. And I did the exercises to find my noble goals, and that is how I created the both of them. And here are my references. Thank you.